Well, I've talked a lot about digital transformation and people, things, and data being connected, about communications and collaboration, which is really interesting when you think about the Mitel Next, kind of what we're trying to achieve here. It's trying to give you a view of what we're doing today, but more importantly, what we see in the future. And if you think about connecting people, things, and data, there could be nothing more important than those things for the future of business. The guests that we have here today are people that are all on that journey. Not just connecting people, but most of them have done something very unique to be able to start to connect things. And when you start connecting people to things, it generates a ton of data that needs to be dealt with and put in an information format that you can actually do something with. When I think about our company, we've talked about our vision for Mitel for a long time, but it's been consistent, about seamless communications and collaboration. As I like to think about collaboration, collaboration is expanding that circle now to include things and data. But it's not just the type or the size of a business that matters anymore. As a matter of fact, one of the things we're going to talk about today is the workers in a business. And there's a lot of different types of workers in a business. And this transformation that's going on is pretty interesting when you start looking at the details of the workforce. Information and service workers represent a huge opportunity for communications and collaboration. For decades, IT has basically served those who sit behind desks through both PCs and desk phones and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is 80% of workers aren't behind a desk. I was kind of thinking, where do I fit on this? Am I a desk worker? And I tell you, I don't spend a lot of time behind the desk. So I think I'm somewhere between on the right. Sometimes it feels like I'm a service worker because I'm always out there kind of running around. But the reality is this aspect of mobility, this aspect of people not tied to a desk, but still needing to communicate and collaborate is a key theme. And especially if you start thinking about remote workers today, people who had a traditional desk job that now are working remotely from home or remotely from Starbucks, you name it. So this whole idea of being tied to the desk is radically changing. The other thing is, 80% of the global workforce is deskless. Think about that. When you start thinking about retail stores or agriculture or manufacturing plants and all the people that are in there, they don't have a desk. They don't have a desk. But they still have a need to communicate and collaborate. A recent study from the VC firm Emergence, you'll see that across almost every single industry, the need to communicate and collaborate between these deskless workers and the headquarters or the call centers or the communications aspects of a company is becoming more important, not less important. It's interesting because we always kind of look at VCs they're the ones that are really in the front end of the emerging technologies. They're the ones who kind of fund sometimes the things that may or may not ever make it on the technology life cycle adoption curve. The reality is this is an area, the deskless worker, which represents 80% of the workforce, they have not been investing in heavily in the past. And we are starting to see significant investments made by VCs in this area. The reality is, I wouldn't say that they have missed the opportunity, but this $2.8 billion workforce that's out there has a real need to communicate and collaborate. And if you think about and you look at all the things that we're going to be talking about today in Mitel Next and in the solution centers, what you're going to see is Mitel is thinking significantly about those workers, but how we tie the workers together. Spending on technology for deskless workers is dramatically on the rise. You can look industry by industry by industry and see the investments that are being made in the communication and collaboration aspects of these vertical industries. And the reason is you've got a huge workforce that has complex things that they need to do, that they need to communicate and collaborate. You know, it's really interesting if you think, and you know, today 98% of companies are using some form of mobile technology, you know, iPads, smartphones, all that kind of stuff. 94%. 69% of companies are doing some kind of wearable or looking at some kind of wearable or expect wearable to be part of their solution over the next couple years. And I talk about digital transformation. There's nothing more digitally transforming than what you see right here. Think about the, you know, the oil industry. They're using drones to look at the oil rigs. They're talking and communicating and collaborating with the technicians. Some of our customers actually, you know, serve this industry. So we're seeing where this technology of communication and collaboration is becoming more and more important for that nomadic worker. You know, productivity gains. Digital transformation is about driving productivity at the end of the day. That's what it's all about. And if you look at the top reasons for investing in Desolace technologies, number one is productivity. Number two is employee experience. And why is employee experience very important? It's very important because there's high turnover in these industries with the service workers. And high turnover means that you need to be able to bring someone up easily and quickly. But the other thing is that workers have a choice, and they want to work in an environment where the tools that they use to do their job are very easy, they're intuitive. So, you know, when we think about what we're doing at Mitel, we look at, you know, this productivity aspect, we look at this employee experience aspect, are very, very important to everything that we're doing. Very important. You know, when I think about employee productivity, it's becoming the single most important thing. For some that were in a presentation I did a few days ago, I talked about, you know, my poor CIO, Jamshid. You know, I want him to do more and more with less and less. And the only way that he can do that is to digitally transform. You know, Wes talked about all the activities that are going on in every single function of our business. Every single function of our business. And we are what I call the perfect mid-sized customer. At 3,600 employees, a global footprint, a lot of different locations, we are the perfect customer for a company like us, for what we do. Because communications and collaborations across a broad set of physical locations, a customer base that's over 70 million on a worldwide basis, we have a lot of needs to communicate and collaborate, even intra to the company. So we get to test our own theory frequently. And the matter of fact is, you know, what we see is that the simplicity, the workers that are deskless are very important to our model. So employee productivity is becoming more and more important than the actual location that they are. Everyone in this room, I guarantee you, has some employee somewhere that you wish they were in a different geographic location than they are. But the skills that they bring are so vitally important to your company that you'll make that compromise because you can communicate and you can collaborate and you can put them in your workflow. You can put them in your workflow. So this idea of kind of a virtual organization is very important, and it's critical. You know, now more than ever, we prefer text and chat and voice over video and those kind of features. You know, the reality is I was sitting here and I don't know what happened. There was some kind of upgrade on my phone, but I got a report that said, you've been using this, this, and this. And it told me, it was just this week that said, my gosh, I've been this many minutes on voice, I've been this many minutes surfing the web, and this is on my mobile device. And the reality is, you know, we spend a lot of time now. 26 minutes is the average texting versus 6 minutes on voice calls. Think about that. And I was thinking when I was kind of looking at this, does that make sense to me? As I was sitting there texting something off to Todd. I said, you know, I'm just not sure about that. Hey, Wes, would you do this real quick? You know, we got to check on this. And I thought, you know, this parallel processing, this using all these domains, that is how we work today. That is how we work today. So whether I'm a desk worker or I'm considered a nomadic worker, the fact of the matter is all these technologies are going to be used. And the key, I think, going forward is how we come in and out of those technologies very quickly. If we think about this concept of people, things, and data or information, the reality of them intersecting in a real-time basis in an omni-channel capability will be critical to the future. And you're going to see a lot of that this morning. You know, the other thing about this is, while deskless technology may be deployed remotely and a vast majority of IT decision makers are making the decisions, the reality is all these decisions are still being made from the top down, not the bottoms up, when the largest part of the workforce is the bottoms up. So it's one of the things that's very important, and I think that you'll see this, that in the innovation, a lot of the people that we're talking to, they are innovating from the top down. And that's going to be critical to be successful going into the future. But one of the most important things is understanding the needs of the people that are actually using the technologies. You know, speed is the new currency. I've said this many times, that enabling a deskless workforce will really give an organization a speed advantage. Today, customer experience is measured by how fast a company can respond. Absolutely, how fast a company can respond really sets the tone for customer experience. You know, as I was coming through the airport yesterday, I had to fly out and fly back. I was amazed. I knew I had this chart here, so I was kind of watching for it. And I went into the airport store. There was the smiley faces. You go into the bathroom, you come out, there's the smiley faces. Everybody is looking. How can I improve that customer experience? You know, I have a thought, and it says that the last best experience that you had, regardless of what industry it's in, will set the tone for your business. So think about it. I can't tell you how many times Mitel, who's a communications and a collaboration company, has been compared to Amazon. Think about it. Gee, I can order this, I get this. I want to return this, I return this. Why can't you do that at Mitel? The reality is, in the marketplace, people's last best experience will set the tone for your business. And customer experience is really key. It's a critical aspect. So, one of the things that we're doing is we're spending a tremendous amount of time understanding the customers and the customer's experience. You know, if they don't like what they're seeing or how they're being treated, customers will leave today. And they'll also share their experience with others. So, you know, when we think about all these pieces being tied together, it's vitally important to understand that there is a destination, and it's a great customer experience at the end of the day. Leveraging this technology, digitally transforming your company to make sure that you're delivering a great customer experience for your customers.